Welcome back to the Word Series. The Word Series centers on real stories, real lives, and how AI is showing up in both business and what I refer to as lifescape. Each word is familiar, often from childhood, but it takes on a new meaning in a world shaped by AI hype, leadership pressure, and organizational change. This week, we're focused on the word expectation, and more specifically, what does expectation mean with the lens of AI? I'm happy to introduce today Deb Pulsfort, Director of Operations with Ava in Dark Matters Technology. Welcome, Deb. Happy to have you. Well, what's all about you?
Thanks so much for having me, Brooke. I really appreciate it. I lead operations for Ava at Dark Matter Technologies. It's our AI solution for document classification and data extraction off of key mortgage documents. And I really work at the intersection of AI operations and our people workforce.
And so important, right? You know, I speak often about keeping humans in the loop, and I know you're an advocate there as well. So let's dive in. Talk to me about when you hear the word expectation and the letters AI related to this expectation of what AI can do for us. What's the first story, image, or moment that comes to mind?
Man, the first thing that really comes to mind is, what people really expect AI to do, right? The difference between that perfect, oh my God, it's going to do everything, and then the extreme of, oh my God, it doesn't do anything I need it to do. What happened,
Yeah,
right?
how do you balance that? Oh, it should be magic, and wait, it's not magic.
How did it get there? Exactly.
Okay, so when you have the opportunity to be at this intersection right here, right now, right? Because you had products that didn't have necessarily the evolutionary AI involved. What have you seen people's expectations or challenges that they've had because the letters AI are front and center? And how has that informed what you're doing on a daily basis and how you're interacting with clients?
Yeah, so that's really a great call out is the expectation of users or consumers of AI is that they really do expect it to be perfect and solve their problem, right? And so you have that extreme in the marketplace or even internally, externally, where the challenges that come up with how does AI actually behave versus the steps along the way, right? And how we get there. And so the evolution of it really has sort of gone from the unknown, right? We just know that it's going to work and it's going to be perfect to really a broader understanding of it doesn't get there overnight. It definitely evolves, to your point.
Right.
Right.
There's
It
a
takes
there's
a
a
lot of work.
teaching and a learning process, not only from a
Yeah.
human dynamic side, but from
Exactly.
the technology side in and of itself as well. It's a process. And I think that that's part of what is a dynamic that is, we would like to think that's not the case because of all the hype around the letters AI. You've actually given me a segue to talk about one of the things you know is near and dear to my heart, which is the responsible AI side of the equation. And you as an organization have done white papers, one of which is Understanding AVA, a responsible
Yeah.
guide to AI use, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that white paper really does set the tone or change the tone of the industry out there, especially in mortgage technology, where, a lot of people ask, well, how are you doing it? What is the secret sauce? And the answer is there is no secret sauce, but if you put the right framework in place and you share that, you give everybody else the opportunity to say, that really makes a lot of sense, right? They're protecting the data. We're protecting the MPI data, but we're still harnessing the power of it in order to build the technology that helps us be more predictive with that data and how it's being consumed by our classification and data extraction technologies, but then also give our clients the confidence that we're doing everything that we possibly can to make sure that their data is protected, their clients' data is protected, and the MPI is not being used to, out there in OpenAI or any of those spaces.
Right. And that's a critical piece as the Freddie Mac guidelines went into effect a couple of, well, 10 days ago now, give or take.
Yeah.
Actually, 7 days ago now that I'm looking at the calendar. And I think that that has set you and I to be a part of this continuing evolution. But it also has allowed you. I happened to hear an interview recently of a client of Ava's and them just speaking to how that partnership worked and even in relationship to the AI side of the equation and that how not only was it a learning process for the humans as well as the technology in and of itself, but there had to be a bit of retraining, so to speak. And how does it work and that evolution within a workflow in and of itself? Do you want to go there for just a minute and give people kind of an overview of what have you learned through that process and working at a day?
Yeah. So I think the key takeaway there is that when you're working with AI, right, whether you're building it or you're consuming it, it's that responsibility factor shifts, right? And so when you're consuming, a service or a product that doesn't involve AI, you have certain expectations along the way. And same thing happens when you're consuming AI. You just have to pivot and shift and think, how is that data coming in? How is it impacting, how is it impacting my workflows? Where are the key points of, I don't want to use the word failure, but really where are the key points of failure, right? And are the requirements clear there? Or is there ambiguity that leads to ambiguity in what I'm getting back? Right. So the responsibility shifts in what is it that being very clear and articulate what it is that you're expecting so that when it comes back, right? Or when you're interacting with the AI, the expectations are very clear and set right, set in stone at the beginning.
Well, I love how you got the word expectation in there, right?
It's all I live about. It's 100% Ava is expectations.
And so let's talk for a second about if you had the opportunity to share with people what's one or two things that you wish they knew or understood more intensely before they undertook an AI decision. What do you think those would be?
It's really funny because when I first started working with AI and I started working with our data science team, they're just brilliant, brilliant people. But it's a give and take relationship where they're also like, "Wow, I wish I could get inside your brain and understand everything you know about the mortgage industry and be able to pair that together."
Piece, right?
Right. And so that's exactly it. The biggest takeaway that I've learned is that when you pair together the power of AI with your subject matter experts and you are able to have teams that can see past what it is that they're doing, right? And how to connect those things, right? You're able to really harness that energy and synergy of the two. And that's where you make your breakthroughs, right? That's where you get to the next level.
That's the magic, right?
Exactly.
But
That is that.
it's not magic on its own. It's the magic of the combination of
Right,
utilizing technology and that human domain expertise that
right.
allows you to go beyond what in fact may be readily present today.
Exactly. I mean, we could be in a conversation and, I don't understand why is it not getting it, right? And you start talking about, well, this is what happens in with mortgages. This is what happens with the data. This is what happens with the documents. This is the variations we're seeing. And suddenly it's like, oh my God,
A moment.
right? And now you've got the data that backs that up and then you find your path, So,
And that refinement.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of learning. It really is it's a lot of learning along the way. Be open to it. Ask questions. Don't be afraid because everybody's asking the same questions.
I think you bring up an excellent point in that it's literally evolving technology. And we hear those words, right? Like, okay, that makes sense. And yet then it's different when you're literally the one in the seat having the conversation with the builder or developer and you're in your case, you're the subject matter expert in relationship to the mortgage process, that it takes on a different context in this evolution of the technology side of the equation. And it's that synergy that
Right.
allows us to take those next steps. And I think as humans, we're like, okay, got it, let's go. And yet the technology is continuing to evolve. So whereas we're like, great, check, box checked, let's go, there's this variation in mindset from our perspective that says it's not an end point. It's really a continuation point. And that's to me one of the foundational aspects of this evolution of AI is we as the human component of it becoming accustomed to the ready revolution that's continuing to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's, just to put it in the same terms, like we as humans, we as leaders, we as subject matter experts, whatever your part is, you have to continue to evolve just as the technology is evolving. It's going to outpace you. You're going to catch up. You might, but you're in the lead because you have that subject matter and domain expertise, or you know how to use it and what you want the outcome to come. But don't be afraid of that, right?
Right. Well, and I think you strike on a great point of that it's this continual learning. How do we move past fear as we learn? We get and there's also a sense of we need as participants to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. So thank you, Deb. And as we're wrapping up today, I always like to end the session on something fun or something that you found. It may not necessarily be fun, but it might just be really helpful. How are you using AI in whether it be your lifescape or your business world?
I use it a lot. I do this thing where, like, if I'm writing or putting together something, I will put together a document, right? And I just kind of drop my ideas into that document. And then I don't ever delete anything. What I do is I put a page break and then I say that's my garbage pile because it was really good when I wrote it and I had a really good point about it, but I want to come back to that. And then what I do is I actually take all my notes and points and I put it in to an AI program and I say, here's what I'm thinking. Here are my random thoughts. Help me organize this better in a way that flows better, right? Whether it be, for work, in my personal life. And it's funny because it always does pick some of that stuff out of my garbage pile and put it back in. So I knew they were good. I knew they were good along the way. And so it's just, I'm always amazed when I see that happen.
You make me smile because you've given a perfect example of a word I was introduced to in the course of my own study, and it's using AI as a co-thinker.
Yeah,
And, it didn't do the work for you, but what it did was organized what you were thinking in a way that allowed you to move faster through that process. And then I know you well enough to know that you took that draft and then you refined it yourself and move forward from there.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
So
thank you, Deb, for being with us this morning. Very much appreciate you, appreciate your early willingness to lean into possible and look at what expectations are and help each of us level set with the expectations of AI. Thank
thank
you.
you so much. I appreciate the invite and I appreciate being part of this journey.